If you're over 60 and still sleeping in this position, you might be unknowingly putting pressure on your heart, cutting off oxygen to your brain, and even damaging your spine every single night. And no one talks about it. Welcome back to the Senior Health Podcast, where we dive deep into the hidden habits that quietly shape how we age. Today's weekend topic is one of the most overlooked yet potentially harmful parts of daily life: your sleep position. Most people think, if I'm sleeping, I'm healing, but that's not always true. According to Japan's oldest practicing doctor, certain positions can actually interfere with your body's recovery, especially after 60 when blood flow, lung capacity, and spinal flexibility begin to change. Dr. Hinohara is with us once again to break this down. He'll explain the risks, the science, and how just turning your body a few inches in the right direction can protect your brain, your heart, and your posture. Doctor, is this really something that can harm people over time? Why would something as simple as how we lie in bed make such a difference? Thank you, John. And yes, this is one of those topics that sounds almost too simple to matter, but in medicine, the simplest things are often the most overlooked, and sleep posture is one of them. We spend a third of our lives in bed. That's over 200,000 hours by the time we reach 70, and yet most people give more thought to what they wear to bed than how they position their body during those hours. But the position you sleep in can influence everything from blood flow, to digestion, nerve pressure, to spinal alignment, and yes, even brain health. That's something people really don't consider. We worry about what time we go to bed, how long we sleep, maybe even the mattress or pillow. But no one ever says, hey, your sleeping position might be stressing your heart. Exactly. And especially after 60, the body becomes more sensitive. The lungs are less elastic, the spine has less cushioning, and circulation, especially to the brain, becomes more vulnerable to compression. So, the way you lie in bed is no longer just a comfort issue, it's a health issue. Now, I want to be clear, everyone is different. What's dangerous for one person may not be for another, and there's no perfect sleep position that works for every single body. But today, I'll share what we have learned in Japan from both traditional practice and recent studies about the risks of certain sleep positions, the signs your body might be giving you, and how small changes can help you sleep not just longer but smarter. So, I encourage everyone watching, don't just click away after the first tip. Stay with us because the position we reveal at the end, the one that supports the heart, the brain and the spine best, may surprise you, and it might be the one change that helps you wake up feeling lighter, clearer and stronger. That's already making me rethink how I've been sleeping, to be honest. I've always figured if I fall asleep and wake up rested, that's good enough. But clearly, there's more going on under the surface, especially as we age. So let's get into it. What's the first sleeping position that may actually be working against your body after 60? Even if it feels comfortable in the moment? The first position I would caution against, especially after 60, is sleeping flat on your back with your legs fully extended and arms down at your sides. Now, this might sound surprising. In fact, in younger years, this posture is often recommended because it keeps the spine neutral and avoids twisting the neck. But with age, the body becomes less adaptable. Lying flat on the back, especially with the legs straight, can cause several subtle but serious issues. First, it can increase pressure on the lower back and sacrum, particularly in those with reduced muscle tone or spinal degeneration, which is common after 60. Second, it can lead to restricted breathing. When the spine flattens and the abdominal contents shift backward, the diaphragm has less room to expand. That results in shallow chest-dominant breathing, which reduces oxygen intake throughout the night. I've actually heard that before, that breathing while lying flat can change with age, but I never really understood why it happens. Is it because of the posture itself or the way our bodies lose flexibility and strength over time? And what does that actually mean for the brain? Are we talking about minor effects or something more long-term? Both, actually. It's a combination of the two. As the muscles around the ribcage and diaphragm weaken slightly with age, they lose some of their expansion power. Then if someone sleeps flat on their back, gravity pulls the abdominal contents upward toward the diaphragm, making it harder to fully draw in air. The result is a subtle drop in oxygen saturation, especially during deeper sleep stages when the body is already more relaxed, and that's where the brain becomes vulnerable. The brain uses nearly 20% of the body's oxygen supply at rest. If that supply is reduced even slightly over many nights, you begin to see slower recall, increased fatigue, and more morning grogginess. In a 2018 Japanese study, participants over 65 who slept primarily on their backs had higher markers of oxidative stress and inflammation, both of which are linked to accelerated cognitive aging. That's really eye-opening. So a position that looks peaceful from the outside, lying flat, arms by your side, breathing calmly, could actually be straining the cardiovascular and respiratory systems while someone sleeps. I mean, most people think that position is ideal, maybe even elegant. Yes, and that's the irony. It feels restful, but only on the surface. For older adults, especially those with any signs of snoring, sleep apnea, or stiff joints, it's often one of the least supportive positions, and it's very common in seniors who wake up more tired than when they went to bed. To be clear, I'm not saying back sleeping must be avoided entirely. For some, especially with the right support and slight elevation of the upper body, it can still be safe. But it needs to be monitored, especially if there are signs of disrupted sleep, breathing irregularities, or morning fog. In traditional Japanese culture, elders often used firm futons and supported side sleeping postures to keep the spine engaged and the chest open. That wasn't just a cultural quirk. It was based on generations of observation and practice. That's fascinating. I never realized how much thought went into something as simple as a sleeping surface. And the connection to traditional futons really drives home the idea that these weren't just comfort choices, they were health choices. So let's keep going. What's the second sleeping position that might seem harmless or even comforting but could actually be causing harm to older adults as they sleep? The second position that deserves close attention is sleeping flat on your back with both arms at your side, medically called the supine position. Now, at first glance, this may seem like the most neutral and peaceful posture. It doesn't twist the neck. It doesn't strain the joints. And many think it's the safest for spinal alignment. But as we age, what's neutral for the young can quietly become stressful for an older body. In this posture, the abdomen and heart shift back under gravity. This subtle change can compress the chest cavity slightly, especially in those with reduced diaphragm flexibility or lung capacity. The result is shallower breathing, not enough to feel like suffocation, but enough to reduce oxygen delivery to the brain and muscles throughout the night. That alone is surprising because people tend to assume that lying on your back gives the lungs space. But when you describe the way the abdomen shifts, it makes sense. It's not about space and theory. It's about how the organs actually settle with gravity. Exactly. And there's another layer, one most people never think about, the role of sleep position in nocturia. As we lie flat, especially after a long day standing or sitting, the fluid that has settled in the legs begins to shift upward. It returns to the central body, increasing pressure in the chest, around the heart, and stimulating the kidneys to filter more fluid. That leads to increased urine production, more trips to the bathroom, more sleep disruption. Wait, so just the act of lying flat can cause someone to wake up and use the bathroom more often? That's a huge problem for seniors, especially those already struggling with sleep. Are there actual studies on this? Yes, a study from Nagoya University tracked elderly adults with frequent nocturia. Those who slept flat on their backs had significantly more nighttime bathroom visits than those who slept with a slight upper body incline or on their sides. And in patients with mild heart or kidney conditions, the difference was even more pronounced and beyond just inconvenience. Those nighttime trips carry real risk. Seniors getting out of bed in the dark, half awake, unstable from a poor circulation, face higher fall risk, higher disorientation, and more daytime fatigue. So yes, this position may look peaceful, but in many cases, it quietly contributes to the very problems people are trying to avoid. That really puts it into perspective. You think you're sleeping peacefully, but behind the scenes, your bladder's overactive, your brain's under-oxygenated, and your spine's under pressure. Exactly. And this is where traditional practices come in. In Japan, many older adults use futons and sleep slightly curled or on their sides. This supports the back, opens the chest, and reduces both airway resistance and fluid shift. It's not just cultural comfort. It's practical wisdom refined over generations. Again, this doesn't mean that supine sleeping is universally bad. For some with a right pillow, setup and no underlying conditions, it can still work. But if someone over 60 is waking up groggy, visiting the bathroom frequently at night, or feeling more stiff than rested, this position might be a hidden factor. That's incredibly eye-opening, because most of the advice we hear for better sleep after 60 focuses on the outside. Things like drink less water, use a softer pillow, install a nightlight. But what you're revealing is that the problem may actually start inside the bed in the position we spend hours in every single night. And that brings us to what might be the most surprising one of all. Doctor, what's the third sleeping position that many people find comforting, even soothing, but might actually be the worst for the spine, the lungs and the aging brain? The third position I often warn against, especially for seniors, is sleeping on the stomach. It may feel comforting, even safe to some people. But for the aging body, it's perhaps the most mechanically stressful position of all. When you sleep on your stomach, your head has to twist sharply to one side for hours. That compresses the neck, restricts the blood flow to the brain, and puts pressure on the cervical spine, which is already more fragile after 60. Over time, this can lead to tension headaches, neck stiffness, and in some cases, even dizziness upon waking. And I know a lot of people say, "Oh, I've slept like this my whole life," but does that mean it's okay to keep doing as they get older, or does the risk really increase with age? It increases dramatically. Younger muscles and discs can compensate for misalignment. But with age, the cartilage thins, the spinal joints stiffen, and the nerves have less room to tolerate compression. A 2019 study from Osaka Medical Center found that habitual stomach sleepers over 60 reported more frequent episodes of waking with neck or upper back pain along with higher rates of daytime fatigue and poor sleep quality. But the risks don't stop at the neck. Stomach sleeping also flattens the natural curve of the spine. It pushes the lower back into extension, strains the muscles around the lumbar vertebrae, and in some people, even compresses the organs, especially if the mattress is too soft. This creates low-grade inflammation, digestive discomfort and poor spinal recovery overnight. That's intense. And I imagine for someone with even mild arthritis or disc issues or breathing problems, that pressure can really build up night after night. Absolutely. In fact, stomach sleeping has also been linked to reduced lung expansion. When the chest is pressed against the mattress, the ribcage can't fully open. That limits deep breathing and, again, reduces oxygen exchange. Over time, it's not just about soreness. It's about the body failing to reset, detoxify and replenish the way it's supposed to during sleep. Now, I want to acknowledge some people feel emotionally safe in this position. They feel grounded. But physical safety and emotional comfort aren't always aligned. If someone over 60 insists on sleeping on their stomach, I advise using a thin pillow or even no pillow and keeping one leg slightly bent to reduce spinal pressure. But ideally, it's a posture to gradually move away from, not rely on. That's such an important distinction, emotional comfort versus physical support. I think a lot of people hold on to how they've always slept, not realizing that their body's needs have changed. And like you said earlier, it's the habits we repeat every night over and over that have the deepest impact. So, now I've got to ask, after all these warnings and hidden risks, what's the position that actually supports the body after 60? What's the healthiest way to sleep if you want to protect your spine, breathe fully, avoid inflammation and wake up clear and strong? That's the question every senior should be asking. Like, not just, how many hours did I sleep? But, did my sleep truly restore me? And to answer that, let's look at what the body actually needs during those quiet hours. Full lung expansion, stable blood flow, spinal support and pressure relief for the joints. And the position that meets those needs best for most people over 60 is side sleeping with the legs slightly bent, the spine gently aligned and a small pillow between the knees. This posture reduces strain on the neck and back, allows the lungs to expand more fully and minimizes pressure on the lower spine. It also supports what we call venous return, helping blood flow back to the heart more efficiently, which reduces swelling and supports brain oxygenation. I've heard people say sleeping on the left side is better for digestion and the right side for the heart. Is there a difference? Yes, but it depends on the person. Left side sleeping can ease acid reflux and support digestion, especially for those with slower gut motility. But for some, especially those with heart conditions, sleeping on the right side can reduce cardiac load and help with breathing. So it's not one size fits all, sad, but both sides are significantly better than the stomach or completely flat back. That's really helpful, because I think a lot of people get stuck in the idea that there's only one right way, and when they hear conflicting advice, they don't know what to follow. So just to clarify, you're saying that side sleeping is generally the safest starting point, and then seniors can fine-tune based on their specific health conditions? Exactly. You start with the safest space, and then adjust based on individual needs. And here's something fascinating from traditional Japanese wisdom. In many older villages, elders were taught to sleep curled on their side, almost in a fetal position, with a firm surface underneath. It wasn't just cultural. It was anatomical. They noticed fewer back issues, fewer falls, and even sharper thinking in those who maintained this nightly habit. Of course, no position is perfect for everyone. The key is to find alignment, not just comfort but stability. The head should stay in line with the spine. The knees should not collapse inward, and movement should still happen throughout the night. But if I could guide one change, just one, for most seniors struggling with fatigue, pain or fog, it would be this. Shift to supported side sleeping. That's such a powerful takeaway, and honestly, it's refreshing, because it's not about buying expensive gear or chasing some perfect routine. It's about understanding how the body changes, and then adapting with care. Doctor, you've given us so much to think about today, but before we close, if you had to leave our listeners with just one sentence, one lasting message about sleep and aging, what would it be? I would say that sleep is not just rest. It's repair. And after 60, how you position your body at night determines how well your brain, your heart, and your spine can heal for the day ahead. I will write this line down in my dreams tonight. Again, I would like to thank everyone for all the support we are getting from you all. Everyone watching this episode live in the studio, thank you for being here. And everyone listening from home, thank you for taking time to do what is best for you, taking care of yourself. Like, subscribe, comment what you have learned from this episode, and see you tomorrow.